My name is Saffron Delaney, and I'm 27 years old. There are moments that change you, moments where your brain splits into a before and after. For me, that moment was a November night on a dark Montana road, with a 7-year-old boy asleep in my back seat and a rusty pickup truck glued to my bumper, so close I could see the driver's eyes in my rearview mirror. Eyes that glowed with something that wasn't quite human, something hungry, something that wasn't going to stop. It was 11 o'clock at night when I left the Blackwoods' house with their son, Mateo, buckled into the back seat of my Honda Civic. The family party had ended late, a birthday celebration for Grandma that had stretched on with stories and laughter and too much wine, and Mateo's parents, Cypress and Azarine, had begged me to drive him home. They lived 2 hours away in Billings, and they would stay behind to help clean up. "Are you sure you're okay to drive?" Azarine had asked, squeezing my hand. "It's a long drive on Route 12. "I'm fine," I had said, even though the truth was that I was tired. But they were paying me $25 an hour plus gas, and I needed the money. "Mateo will be asleep in 10 minutes anyway." And I was right. By the time we pulled out of the driveway, his eyes were already closed, his little body curled up under his dinosaur blanket, his breathing soft and steady. Route 12 was a back road that wound through empty hills and dark fields. During the day, it was beautiful, all that big Montana sky and endless views, but at night, it was different. At night, it became a black tunnel where your headlights created a faint cone of light, and everything beyond was absolute nothingness. My radio picked up only static, that harsh interference that made your brain invent patterns in the noise. I turned it off, driving in silence except for the hum of the engine and Mateo's occasional sigh from the back seat. I had been on the road for 40 minutes when I first saw them, lights, in my rearview mirror, maybe 500 yards behind me, appearing over a hill. I didn't think anything of it at first. It was a public highway. Other cars used it. But as I watched, the lights grew, brighter, closer. Whoever it was speeding up fast. I glanced at my speedometer. 80 kilometers per hour, the speed limit. I pushed it to 90. It was a straight highway, no traffic. There was no reason not to go a little faster. The lights kept getting closer. My stomach tightened. 100 kilometers per hour. The lights were still getting closer, eating up the distance between us as if I were standing still. At 110, they finally stopped getting closer. They stayed there, maybe 100 meters behind, their high beams piercing directly into my rearview mirror, blinding me. I adjusted the mirror to deflect the glare, trying to see what kind of vehicle it was. All I could make out was the shape, a pickup truck, large, old, judging by the round headlights instead of the modern rectangular ones. Dark color, maybe black or navy blue, and it stayed exactly 100 meters behind me, as if it were sizing me up, evaluating me. My pulse began to quicken. This wasn't normal. You don't follow someone at that distance at 70 miles per hour unless you're following them. I slowed down, 55 miles per hour, 50, 40. The pickup slowed down too, keeping that same exact distance. "It's okay," I whispered to myself. "It's okay, just let it go." I put on my turn signal, moving into the right lane even though there were only 2 lanes and no traffic. A universal gesture. Go ahead, pass me. The pickup truck moved too, staying directly behind me. My breathing became shallower. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. I accelerated again. 100, 110, 120. The pickup stayed glued to me, as if we were connected by an invisible cord. I checked my phone in the dashboard holder. 1 bar of signal. Maybe. I grabbed it with one hand, keeping my focus on the road with the other, and dialed Cypress. It rang 4 times, 5. Voicemail. Shit, I hissed, dialing Azarine. She answered on the second ring. "Saffron, are you okay?" "No," I said, my voice coming out louder than I intended. "Someone's following me, a pickup truck. It won't leave me alone. It keeps..." The line crackled. It cut out. Azarine. Azarine. Static. Then nothing. The signal was dead. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, both hands on the wheel now, knuckles white. In the rearview mirror, the lights glowed like the eyes of a demon. A curve came up my Civic, leaning as I took it too fast. The tires screeched. Mateo shifted in the back seat. Aunt Saffron. His voice was small, sleepy. Why are we going so fast? Everything's fine, sweetie, I lied, my throat so tight I could barely speak. Go back to sleep. But, Mateo, please. I couldn't deal with his questions right now. Not while that pickup truck was still there, relentless, tireless. I glanced at the odometer. I had been driving for 50 minutes. Billings was still an hour away. An hour of this dark, empty highway with this monster glued to my rear. Up ahead, in the distance, I saw lights. Red and yellow, glowing in the darkness. A gas station, or maybe a roadside restaurant. It didn't matter. It was civilization, safety. I put on my turn signal, slowing down, preparing to pull out. The pickup slowed down too, getting closer, now 50 yards away, 40. The lights grew brighter. A Shell gas station closed. The lights were just the signs, lit up, but the store was dark. The pumps turned off. My heart sank. Closed. Of course it was closed. It was almost midnight in the middle of nowhere, in Montana. I drove past it, accelerating back onto the highway. The pickup truck drove past too, still following me. But now it was closer. 30 meters. 20. I could see it better now in my mirror. A Ford F-150, maybe from the 90s. Faded paint, dented bumper, and a silhouette behind the wheel. Male, large, leaning forward as if he wanted to break through his own windshield to get to me. Aunt Saffron. Mateo's voice, louder now, no longer sleepy, scared. That truck, that bad truck. What? I turned to look at him in the back seat. His eyes were wide, fixed on the rear window. Mateo, do you know that truck? He's coming for me. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Mom said if I ever saw him, I should run. Run and don't look back. An icy chill ran down my spine. Who, Mateo? Who's coming for you? The bad man, the one who hurt Dad. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Azarine's words from months ago came back to me. Cypress's ex is in prison. Attempted murder. They denied him custody of Mateo. Domestic violence, but he's out on parole next year. Had he been released early? Had he been following us all this time? The pickup suddenly accelerated, closing the distance in seconds. 10 meters. 5. Its headlights filled my car completely, turning everything bright white. I couldn't see anything except light. My shadow cast dark against the dashboard. Then it hit me. Not hard, just a bump on my rear bumper. But at this speed, it was enough to send my Civic reeling. I swerved to the right, then overcompensated, almost going into the ditch. Mateo screamed. "Hold on!" I yelled, straightening the car. Accelerating to 130, 140, pushing my little Civic beyond what it was designed for. The pickup fell behind. Not far, just a little, but enough for me to breathe, enough for me to think. My phone. I needed my phone. I needed to call 911, but it was in the passenger seat, and if I took my hands off the wheel for even a second. Mateo. I tried to keep my voice calm. Mateo, honey, I need you to do something for me. I'm scared, he sobbed. I know, so am I, but I need you to be brave. Can you be brave for me? A wet sob. Okay. My phone is in the front seat. Can you reach it? I heard movement, his seatbelt clicking as he unbuckled. Mateo, no. Stay buckled in. I almost have it. More movement. Then, I've got it. Good. Very good. Now dial 911. I can't see the numbers. It's too dark. Shit. Of course. Okay. Put it on speaker and just press 911, then send. Dialing tones filled the car. 1 ring, 2. 911, what is your emergency? We're being chased. The words came out in a rush. On Route 12, mile marker, I don't know, somewhere between Harlowden and Billings, a pickup truck is following us. It hit us. It's trying to run us off the road. Ma'am, calm down. Are you hurt? No, but he... The pickup sped up again, closing the distance. He's coming again, I gasped. He's... Another hit. Harder this time. My head jerked forward, my neck bursting with pain. The phone flew off the seat, hitting the floor. Shit. Shit. Mateo was crying again, big sobs of pure panic. The pickup moved into the left lane, accelerating until it was alongside me. So close, I could see the driver clearly now. 40-something. Unkempt beard. Wild eyes. Reflecting my lights. And he was smiling. A wide, demented smile, as if this was the best moment of his life. He moved into my lane, trying to push me into the ditch. I slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched, the smell of burnt rubber filling the car. The pickup truck sped past, its taillights flashing as it roared ahead. Then its brake lights came on. It was slowing down, blocking the road, forcing me to slow down or crash into it. No, 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 no. I looked to my right, shoulder, then grass, then darkness. But there was no other option. I turned the steering wheel hard, my Civic jumping off the pavement onto the gravel shoulder. The stones hit the undercarriage with sounds like gunshots. The steering wheel shook in my hands, threatening to rip them from my fingers. We passed the pickup on the shoulder, returning to the pavement ahead of him, my tires screeching as I regained control. In the mirror, I saw him make a U-turn, his tires smoking. He was coming back. "Aunt Saffron, I'm scared," Mateo cried. "I know, sweetie. Me too. But we're going to be okay. I promise we're going to be okay." Liar. You're a liar. You don't know that. You don't know if we're going to make it out of this alive. The lights of another town appeared ahead, bigger this time. Roundup, maybe. There had to be a police station there. There had to be. The pickup was closer now, closing the distance with ease. My little 4-cylinder Civic was no match for its V8 engine. 100 yards, 50, 20. The town signs flashed. Roundup, population 1,014. A streetlight. 2. Buildings taking shape in the darkness. The pickup hit me again, harder than before. My head slammed into the headrest, stars exploding in my vision. The car lurched, 2 tires lifting off the pavement for a horrible second before crashing back down. "God," I screamed, every instinct screaming to stop, to give up, to make this end. But I couldn't. Not with Mateo in the back seat. Not with this man who had tried to kill Cypress, who had been denied custody for violence, who clearly wasn't going to stop until he got what he wanted. A sign. Musselshell County Police Department, next right. I veered into the exit so hard that the tires screeched, the car tilting at a dangerous angle. The pickup tried to follow, but took the curve too fast, its tires squealing, its rear end sliding out. That gave me 5 seconds, maybe 10. The police station was there, a low brick building with an American flag flying outside. The lights were on. There were cars in the parking lot. I turned into the parking lot, skidding to a stop directly in front of the doors, honking my horn in long, insistent bursts. The front door opened. An officer came out, his hand on his gun. "Help!" I got out of the car, almost tripping over my own legs. "He's chasing us. He's trying to kill us." "Ma'am." A pickup truck. Dark blue. He just followed us all the way down the highway, bumping into us, trying to run us off. The roar of an engine. Tires on gravel. The pickup truck appeared at the entrance to the parking lot, its headlights shining directly at us. For a second, I thought he would do it. I thought he would accelerate straight into the police station parking lot, ramming us all. The officer drew his gun. "Turn off the engine. Turn off the engine now." The pickup truck sat there, idle, its engine purring. "Get out of the vehicle with your hands up." I could see the driver through the windshield, illuminated by the parking lot lights, still smiling, looking directly at me. Then he raised a hand, not in surrender, in greeting. A small mocking wave, his fingers waving. And then he drove away in reverse, his tires screeching, disappearing into the night. More officers came running, radios crackling, questions being shouted. But it all sounded distant, like underwater, because I was running back to my car, opening the back door, reaching for Mateo. "You're okay," I kept saying, grabbing him, pulling him out of the car, holding him as he shook. "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay." But he wasn't okay. None of us were okay. One officer led me inside while two others jumped into their patrol cars, chasing after the pickup truck that had already disappeared several minutes ago. "I need your statement," said Officer Wolf, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. From the beginning. I told her everything. The chase, the blows, the way he had blocked the road, the smile on his face. "Did you see the license plate?" I shook my head. "Too dark, too fast. Make and model. Ford F-150, 90s I think, dark blue or black." She wrote everything down. "And the boy, what's his relationship to you?" "He's my employer's son. I'm taking him home, but he said he knew who he was. Said he's his father's ex, that he hurt him." Wolf stiffened. "Name?" "I don't know. Cypress never told me. Only that he'd been in prison for attempted murder. Stay here." She went outside, her radio in her mouth speaking in codes I didn't understand. Mateo curled up in my lap, his little fingers clutching my shirt. "Did the bad man go away?" "He's gone," I said, stroking his hair. "The police are here. We're safe." But were we? He knew where we were going. He knew we would eventually make it to Billings. Wolf returned. I made some calls. Colton Vex, Cypress Blackwood's ex-partner, released from prison 3 weeks ago on parole. Restraining order prohibiting him from coming within 500 meters of Cypress or her son. And we have an arrest warrant. Every unit in the county is looking for him. Do you have somewhere to go tonight? I wouldn't recommend continuing to Billings without an escort. No. My brain wasn't functioning properly. Can I call the parents? My phone was smashed. The screen cracked from its fall. But Wolf's worked. I called Azarine, who responded with pure panic when I told her what had happened. "We're on our way," she said. 15 minutes. Don't move." Those 15 minutes were the longest of my life. Every car that passed could have been him. Every shadow in the window. Every sound in the parking lot. When they finally arrived, Azarine rushed out of the car before it came to a complete stop, snatching Mateo from my arms, checking him over everywhere, crying so hard she could barely speak. Cypress came over to me, his face pale. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry. We should never have asked you to take him alone. I never thought that he would come out, that he would find us." "How did he know?" I asked. "How did he know Mateo would be on that road tonight?" Cypress looked down. "He's been lurking, following us, trying to find opportunities. We thought he was just watching the house. We didn't think that he would go this far. The officers didn't find Colton Vex that night. Or the next. 3 weeks later, they found him in Wyoming, trying to cross into Colorado. Violation of probation, stalking, aggravated assault with a vehicle. 6 more years added to his sentence. The Blackwoods paid me $50,000. "For the trauma," Cypress said, "and to cover any therapy you need." I took it. I use it. But no amount of money can erase what I saw in that rearview mirror. Those lights, those eyes, that smile. I don't drive at night anymore. Not even in the city. Definitely not on empty highways. Because I know what's out there. I know there are people who chase, who hunt, who don't stop until they get what they want. And I know what it feels like to be the prey. Last night I had a nightmare. I was driving again, with Mateo asleep in the back, and I saw lights in my mirror, getting closer, faster, brighter. I woke up sweating, my heart racing, my hand reaching for a steering wheel that wasn't there. And for a second, just before my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I swore I could hear an engine, purring right outside my window, waiting, always waiting. That March night, the rain had started around 4 in the morning, drumming softly on the factory's metal roof. By the time I finished my shift at 7, it had escalated into an apocalyptic downpour, the kind of Oregon rain that turns the world gray and reduces visibility to almost nothing. My Toyota was in the shop, something with the transmission I couldn't afford to fix yet, so I was driving my roommate Garrick's borrowed Chevy pickup. It was old, a 95, with cracked vinyl seats that smelled like stale cigarettes, and a radio that only picked up static. But it had 4 wheels and a working engine, which was more than I could say for my own car. I usually took Highway 99 back home, a 30-minute drive on main roads with streetlights and traffic. But that morning, exhausted after 9 hours on my feet packing boxes, I wanted to get home faster. There was a shortcut Garrick had mentioned, Timber Creek Road, a gravel road that cut through dense forest and came out just 10 minutes from my apartment. "Saves 20 minutes, he had said. "Just don't take it at night if you can help it. There are no lights out there." But it was 7 in the morning. It wasn't night. It was just dark. Black storm clouds blocked any dawn light there might have been. I turned on to Timber Creek Road, my windshield wipers fighting futilely against the downpour. Gravel crunched under the tires, the pickup bouncing over potholes I couldn't see until I hit them. Trees towered on both sides, Douglas firs so tall and dense that their branches intertwined over the road, creating a dark tunnel that swallowed my headlights. Rain hammered the roof like gunshots, each drop hitting the metal with enough force to echo in the cab. The wind howled through the trees, causing them to sway and creak, branches scraping against the sides of the pickup like skeletal fingers. I leaned forward, my eyes squinted, trying to see beyond 5 meters. The road snaked, blind turns, and hills appearing out of nowhere. I slowed to 30 kilometers per hour, then 20. That's when I felt it. That subtle tug, that barely perceptible drag that means only one thing: flat tire. "No," I groaned, pounding the steering wheel. No, 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 not now. But the tug got worse, the pickup pulling to the right, the sound of deflating rubber against gravel audible even over the storm. I had no choice. I had to stop before I completely destroyed the tire or lost control. Ahead, barely visible through the rain, was a clearing where the road widened slightly, probably used by logging trucks to turn around. I stopped there, putting the pickup in park, turning off the engine. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. Without the engine, without the radio, just the rain pounding on the roof and the wind howling and my own breathing, rapid and shallow, in the enclosed space. I took out my phone. No signal. Of course, I was in the middle of the damn forest. I looked out the window. Complete darkness except where my headlights cut through the rain. The clearing was maybe 20 meters across, surrounded by wall after wall of black trees disappearing into the fog. I needed to change the tire. That meant getting out. In the rain. In the dark. Alone. "It's okay," I whispered to myself. "It's okay, just change it and go." Quickly, I grabbed the flashlight from the glove compartment, testing it. The beam was weak, flickering, batteries dying. Great. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The rain hit me like a physical fist. Within seconds, I was soaked. Water running through my hair, down my back, soaking my shoes. The wind ripped the door from my hand, slamming it against the pickup with a metallic sound that echoed through the forest. I moved to the back, opening the tailgate, looking for the jack and spare tire. My hands were shaking, partly from the cold, partly from something else. That feeling of being watched, that tingling at the back of your neck that your animal instincts give you when there's a predator nearby. But that was ridiculous. There was no one here, just me, the trees, and the storm. I took out the jack, the spare tire, the lug wrench. Everything was wet, slippery, my grip clumsy with numb fingers. I knelt down next to the rear right tire, the flashlight tucked under my arm, dimly illuminating my work. The rain pelted my back mercilessly. I began to loosen the lug nuts, each one requiring all my strength. And then I heard it. A whistle. Low, musical, barely audible over the storm, but definitely there. A melody I knew. My blood turned to ice. It was the song. The damn song he had been sending me in messages. You are my sunshine. But whistled in that particular way. That specific progression of notes he had recorded in an audio clip and attached to every anonymous message over the past 2 months. Thinking of you, Vesper. I saw you at the supermarket today. That blue sweater looks beautiful on you. I know where you work. I know what time you leave. Someday, you'll stop running. I had filed police reports. I had blocked numbers. I had changed my routes, varied my schedule as much as I could. But the messages kept coming, from different numbers, prepaid numbers impossible to trace. And now I was hearing that whistle. Here, in the middle of nowhere, in the storm. I dropped the wrench, turned, sweeping my flashlight across the edge of the clearing. Nothing, just trees, water, darkness. Hello? My voice came out weak, pathetic. Is anyone there? The whistle stopped. The silence that followed was worse, because now I knew. I knew I hadn't imagined it. Someone was out there, watching me, waiting. My hands found the wrench, gripping it like a weapon. I stood up, my back against the pickup, turning slowly, trying to see in all directions at once. I know you're there, I said, trying to sound brave, failing miserably. The police know where I am, I called before I stopped. A lie. But maybe he would believe it. A crack, a branch snapping. To my right, in the trees. I turned, my flashlight finding nothing. Another crack. Behind me now. I turned again. Still nothing. It was moving, circling me. What do you want? I shouted, my voice cracking. The answer came in the form of that hiss again. Closer now, much closer. Maybe 10 meters away, just beyond the reach of my flashlight. Panic exploded in my chest, hot and suffocating. I needed to finish changing this tire. I needed to get out of here. Now. I knelt down again, my fingers clumsy as I tried to get the jack under the pickup. I positioned it wrong twice, my mind unable to focus, every sense hyper-aware of the forest around me. Finally, I got it right and started pumping. The pickup rose, inch by painful inch. The hissing stopped. That was worse, because when it was hissing, I knew where it was. Now it could be anywhere. I removed the remaining lug nuts, my fingers slipping on the wet metal. One fell into the mud. Shit. I crouched down, searching blindly, finally finding it sunk in mud. When I stood up, there was a shape, at the edge of the clearing, barely visible in the rain. A silhouette, male, tall, standing completely still, looking at me. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I raised it, trying to illuminate his face. But the second the beam hit him, he moved, back into the trees, disappearing. A sob escaped my throat. I had to get out. I had to get out now. I ripped off the damaged tire, every second feeling like an hour, waiting to feel hands on my shoulders, waiting for something to come out of the darkness and drag me away. I rolled up the spare tire, my arms burning with the effort, the nuts crossed, tightening them with frantic force. I was lowering the jack when I saw it. Under the pickup truck, under the chassis, something small, black, rectangular, with a green light flashing. It took my brain 3 seconds to process what I was seeing. A GPS tracker. He hadn't found me by chance. He hadn't been waiting here. He had followed me. He knew my every move because he had put a tracker on Garrick's pickup truck. When? In the factory parking lot? At my apartment complex? It didn't matter. What mattered was that he knew exactly where I was, right now, at this very second, and he was out there, playing with me. I ripped it off the chassis, threw it in the mud, stomped on it with my heel until the green light died. Then I ran, around the pickup, dragging the jack and the flat tire, tossing them in the back without closing the door properly, throwing myself into the driver's seat. My hands were shaking so violently that I couldn't get the key into the ignition. Once, twice, 3 times. Finally, it turned. The engine roared to life. I pressed the accelerator, the tires spinning in the mud, before finding traction, the pickup truck lurching forward. In my rearview mirror, I saw something. A figure coming out of the trees, running toward the road, toward me. But I was already pulling away, taking the curve too fast, the pickup truck skidding, almost going into the ditch before I corrected it. 30 miles per hour, 40, 50. The road was treacherous, slippery, but I didn't care. I just needed distance. I just needed to get somewhere with people, with lights, with safety. Then I saw lights in my rearview mirror. Headlights, approaching fast. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." How? How was he driving? I hadn't seen any vehicles in the clearing, unless he had parked further back on the road, waiting, knowing from the tracker that I would come this way. Planning it all. The lights got closer, closer and closer. I accelerated to 60, 70. Too fast for this road, for this rain, but I had no choice. A curve appeared out of nowhere. I turned sharply, feeling the rear tires slip, the world spinning for a horrible second before I found traction again. The lights were still there, relentless. My phone. I needed my phone. It was in the passenger seat, bouncing with every bump. I grabbed it, looked at the screen. 1 bar. A single signal bar. I dialed 911 with clumsy fingers. 911, what is your emergency? I'm being followed. The words came out in a scream. On Timber Creek Road, someone is following me, has been stalking me, had a tracker on my car. Ma'am, where on Timber Creek Road? I don't know. Somewhere between Highway 99 and Cascade Drive. It's dark, I can't see. The signal cut out. I looked at the screen. No signal again. The lights were closer now. As close as I could see, it was a dark sedan, not a pickup truck. Its engine clearly more powerful than Garrick's old Chevy. It started ramming me. Gently at first, just a bump on my bumper. The pickup lurched. I grabbed the steering wheel, trying to keep it steady. Another bump, harder. "Leave me alone," I yelled, even though it couldn't hear me. A sign appeared ahead through the rain. Cascade Drive, 2 miles. 2 miles, just 2 more miles, and I'd be on a real road with houses, with morning traffic, with witnesses. The sedan accelerated, moving alongside me, trying to force me off the road. I slammed on the brakes, letting him pass in front of me, then accelerated around him again. But the road was too narrow. There wasn't enough room. Its side grazed mine, metal screeching against metal, sparks flying in the rain. Then the road widened. Pavement appeared under my tires. Cascade Drive. Houses began to appear, small, spaced far apart, but houses, with lights on, with people inside. A diner, a place called Daybreak Diner, with a flashing neon sign and cars in the parking lot. I turned so hard that the tires screeched, skidding into the parking lot, crashing into a space next to the door. The sedan drove past, slowing down, then speeding up, disappearing down the street. I didn't wait to see if it came back. I ran out of the pickup truck toward the glass doors, almost falling on the wet floor as I burst inside. "Miss, are you okay?" A waitress, in her 50s with red-dyed hair, stared at me with wide eyes. I need to call the police." The words came out choppy, my whole body shaking. Someone was following me, trying to run me off the road. "Sit down, honey. I'll call them right now." I collapsed into a booth by the window, staring out at the parking lot, waiting to see that sedan appear, waiting to see a figure walking toward the doors. But the only cars there were Garrick's pickup truck and 3 others belonging to other customers. The police arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers, asking me the same questions over and over. "Did you see a license plate?" "Too dark." "Make of the vehicle?" "A sedan. Dark. That's all." "And you say you found a tracking device?" "Yes. I ran it over. On the road." They sent a unit back to look for it. To look for evidence of the chase. Skid marks. Paint transfer. But Timber Creek Road is gravel. There are no skid marks on gravel. And the rain would have washed away any other evidence. "We'll do what we can," one of the officers said. "But without a license plate, without clear identification. "I have the messages," I said. "Months of messages. I can show them to you. That helps, for a restraining order." But without knowing who sent them, I stayed in that coffee shop until the sun was really up. Until the gray sky cleared to a lighter gray and the parking lot filled with people going to work. Only then, with an officer following me, did I drive home. I returned Garrick's pickup that same afternoon. I got a ride-sharing service to take me to work for 2 weeks until my Toyota was repaired. The messages stopped. Completely. As if it had been waiting just for that moment. That opportunity on the dark road. And when it failed, when I escaped, it simply gave up. It was a Saturday night, technically Sunday since it was past midnight. I was driving back from the Burning Sage Festival, a 3-day electronic music event in the desert near Reno. I still had adrenaline rushing through my veins, that post-concert buzz, where your body hasn't understood that the music stopped an hour ago. The stage lights still flashed behind my eyelids every time I blinked. Interstate 80 was almost empty at that hour, just the occasional truck passing like whales in the darkness, and my little Honda Civic cutting through the black desert air. I had the window halfway down, letting in cool air that smelled of sage and hot asphalt. My GPS said 2 more hours to Las Vegas, where I lived. I was distracted, still half lost in the rhythms that had been hammering my chest for 3 days, when I almost drove right past it. Lights, flashing in the darkness, red and amber, that urgent flash of emergency lights. A car on the shoulder, tilted at a strange angle. No, not just parked. Partially overturned, its front end smashed against a dry tree that had somehow survived in this desert. My foot went to the brake before my brain processed the decision. The Good Samaritan instinct, that thing you're taught as a child about helping others, kicked in immediately. I stopped about 20 yards behind the damaged car, leaving my high beams on to illuminate the scene. My heart was beating faster now, the adrenaline from the festival transforming into something sharper, more focused. The car was a silver sedan, a Nissan Altima perhaps, its hood crushed like crumpled paper. The engine was still smoking, gray wisps rising and dispersing into the night air. The driver's door was wide open, hanging at a strange angle from bent hinges. I grabbed my phone from the holder, sliding it into my back pocket, and got out of my car. The desert air was cold now, a stark contrast to the heat of the day. My shoes, still the dust-covered festival boots, crunched on the gravel of the shoulder. "Hello?" I called, approaching slowly. "Is anyone hurt?" Silence, just the wind blowing through the bushes. A low hissing sound that made the skin on my arms crawl. I approached the car. The hazard lights were still flashing, making everything look like a scene from a horror movie. Light, dark, light, dark. My own shadows jumping and shifting. And then I saw it. Blood. A trail of it, starting right at the driver's door sill and stretching across the asphalt toward the desert. Toward the darkness beyond the reach of my lights. My stomach twisted. The smell came a second later, that distinctive metallic smell that hits the back of your throat and makes you want to vomit. It wasn't just a little blood, it was enough to make a puddle, enough to soak the gravel. "Hello?" I tried again, my voice coming out weaker now. "Do you need help?" I pulled out my phone, dialing 911 with fingers that had started to shake. But before I pressed call, something made me pause. Where was the driver, the passenger? There was no one in the car. The open door revealed an empty interior except for a deflated airbag and more blood on the steering wheel. But if someone had been injured enough to bleed that much, how had they walked away? Where had they gone? I followed the trail of blood with my phone's flashlight. It led into the desert, then faded after about 10 feet, as if whoever it was had simply evaporated, or stopped bleeding, or been carried away. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. "It's okay," I whispered to myself. Call the police. Let them handle this." I was about to press call when I heard something. A crackling sound, branches breaking, coming from somewhere in the darkness to my right, beyond the damaged car. I froze completely, my breath caught in my throat. "Hello?" My voice barely a whisper now. "Are you hurt?" I called emergency services. They're on their way. A lie. But maybe it would scare them if they thought help was coming. Another crack. Closer. And then a voice. Male. Rough. "Help. Please." It came from somewhere behind a large mugwort bush, maybe 10 meters from the road. "Where are you?" My flashlight swept the darkness, but the beam was too weak to penetrate very far. "Here. I can't move." Something in his voice sounded wrong. Not like someone in pain. More like someone acting out pain. But I was being paranoid, right? I was scared by the blood, by the strange scene, and my brain was inventing dangers that didn't exist. I took a step toward the bush, then another. My boot stepped on something that crunched. I looked down. A wallet. Brown leather. Half open, its contents spilling onto the ground. I picked it up with trembling hands, opening it completely. A driver's license was in the first plastic compartment. I illuminated it with my phone, and my heart stopped beating. The photo was of a man I had never seen before. 30-something, dark hair, beard. But the name was Garrick Ash, the same last name as mine, and the address printed below was 2847 Desert Bloom Drive, Las Vegas, NV 89129. My address, my exact address. The wallet fell from my fingers. This was no accident. This was a trap. The realization hit me like a physical punch. They had used my information. They had made a fake ID with my address. They had put this here for someone to find, for someone to call the police and report an accident at this address, leaving a trail that led straight back to me. Or worse. It was a trap to get people to stop. People traveling alone. People who thought they were helping. And I had fallen right into it. "Please, help me." The voice again, but now it sounded different, closer, and there was something about it that made every survival instinct in my body scream, "Run." I didn't wait to see who came out of the bushes. I didn't wait to confirm if they really needed help or if it was part of the trap. I turned and ran. My boots slipped on the loose gravel, almost falling, but I recovered, propelling myself toward my car. 20 meters had never seemed so far. The space stretched like taffy, each step feeling like I was running through molasses. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Fast, multiple footsteps. It wasn't one person, it was at least two. "Hey, wait." A different voice now, younger, more aggressive. "We just want to talk." Liar. Liars who put fake blood and fake accidents and fake wallets with your address in them don't just want to talk. I reached my car, my fingers clumsy as I grabbed the door handle. Locked. I had locked it automatically when I got out, because of course I had. No. My fingers found the button on the key fob, pressing it frantically. The car beeped, the locks clicking. The footsteps were maybe 10 meters away now. I could hear heavy breathing, grunts of effort. I yanked the door open, throwing myself inside, slamming it shut. Just as a hand slammed against the window, I screamed, my finger finding the lock button, all the doors clicking shut simultaneously. A face pressed against my window. Male, 30s, bearded. The man from the ID. Except, he didn't look hurt. He looked angry. "Open the door," he said, his voice muffled by the glass. "We just want your purse, your phone. Hand them over, and we won't hurt you." My hand found the ignition, turning the key that was still there from when I had parked. The engine roared to life. Another person appeared on my passenger side. A woman, short, dark hair. Banging on the window with something. A rock, maybe a tool. "Open the fucking door!" I put the car in drive, my foot pressing down on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, tires screeching. The man at my window had to jump back to avoid being run over. I accelerated back onto the highway, my tires finding traction, the speedometer climbing. 60, 80, 100. In my rearview mirror, I could see them standing on the shoulder, illuminated by the fake car's emergency lights, just watching as I disappeared. Then one of them pulled something out, a phone, lit up, typing something, or taking a photo, of my license plate. Shit, I gasped, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly it hurt. Shit, shit, shit. They had my license plate, which meant they could find my registration, find my real address, not the one they'd used on the fake ID, unless the address on the ID was my real address, which meant they already knew where I lived. They had been planning this. They had specifically chosen me. But why? How did they know me? My phone, still in my back pocket. I pulled it out with one hand, keeping the other on the steering wheel, and dialed 911. This time I pressed call. 911, what is your emergency? There are people on Interstate 80, mile marker. God, I don't know, maybe 120 something. They staged a fake accident. They tried to rob me, attack me. Ma'am, calm down. Are you safe now? Yes, I'm driving. I got away. But they have my license plate. They have my address. They put a fake ID with my address at the scene of the accident. Can you describe the suspects? I told him everything. The man with the beard, the woman with short hair, the silver Nissan, the blood that was probably animal or fake, the wallet with my information. We're sending units now. Can you head to the nearest police station? Where is that? In Fallon. Exit 112. Can you get there? Yes, I can. Good. Stay on the line with me. I drove with the phone on speaker on my lap, the operator asking occasional questions to keep me focused. What was I wearing? Was I wearing jewelry? Did I have cash? No. Yes, maybe $100. They were probably looking for festival tourists, the operator said. Music festivals are prime targets. People carry cash, have expensive camping gear, are tired, and their guard is down. It made sense. Horrible, perfect sense. The police station finally came into view. A low concrete building with bright lights. Patrol cars parked outside like sentinels. I pulled into the parking lot, put my car in park, and just sat there. My hands still on the steering wheel. My body still shaking. Ma'am, did you make it to the station? Yes. Good. The officers will come out to meet you. And they did. 2 of them, a man and a woman, both with serious expressions. I spent the next 2 hours giving statements, describing everything in painful detail. The emergency lights, the blood, the trail into the desert, the voice calling for help, the purse with my information, the people who came out of the darkness. Do you have any idea how they got your information? Asked the officer, a middle-aged man with a name tag that said Martinez. No, I'd never seen them before. Have you shared your address online recently? Social media, shopping sites? My stomach sank. The festival. I had bought tickets online. I had had to provide a shipping address. And I had posted about going. On Instagram, on Facebook, with geolocation enabled. The festival, I whispered. I posted that I was going, with my location. Martinez nodded, unsatisfied but not surprised. That's enough. These groups target festival goers. They follow social media, look for people traveling alone, collect addresses from hacked ticket sales databases. Groups? Is this something they do regularly? There have been 6 similar reported incidents in the last 3 months. Fake accidents on empty roads. Victims chosen from music festivals. So far, 3 people have been injured, 2 robbed at knife point. You're the first one who got away unharmed. The first to get away, which meant others hadn't. The officer continued. We sent units to the mile marker you provided. The car was gone. They probably moved it immediately after you left. But we're checking traffic cameras looking for the silver Nissan and any other vehicles in the area. What about my address? They know where I live. We'll put increased patrols in your neighborhood, and I would strongly recommend that you consider staying with a friend or family member for a few days. Until we find them. Until, not if. I called my friend Isolde, who lived in Henderson. I told her the basics, omitting the scariest parts so as not to frighten her too much, and she told me to come over immediately. I drove to her apartment as the sky began to lighten, the black night turning to dark gray. Every car behind me looked like a silver Nissan. Every sedan made me check my mirror obsessively. I stayed with Isolde for 4 days. 4 days of jumping at every noise, of checking the locks obsessively, of not being able to sleep without nightmares. On day 5, Martinez called. "We got them," he said. 3 individuals. We caught them trying the same scheme on another victim near Sparks. This time, the victim didn't stop, called right away, and we were ready. Who are they? A small road crew, 2 men, 1 woman, operating for 6 months. They're facing multiple charges: fraud, theft, assault. They won't be out for a long time. I should have felt relieved. I should have felt some kind of closure, but all I felt was emptiness. Because they still had my information. My address is out there, in hacked databases, on lists sold on the dark web, and they weren't the only group doing this. I went home on day 6. I changed my locks. I installed security cameras. I got an alarm system, but I don't go out at night anymore. I don't go to festivals. I don't post my location, and I never ever stop for accidents on empty highways. Because I learned something that night on Interstate 80. Monsters don't always come from the dark. Sometimes, they flash their hazard lights and ask for help. And when you get out of your car, when you walk closer, when your good heart tells you you should help, they're waiting. My name is Zenith Crane, and every time my phone rings, my entire body freezes. It doesn't matter if it's daytime, if I'm surrounded by people, if the call is from a number I recognize. For just a second, I'm back in that moving truck at 3 in the morning, driving down Interstate 40 through Texas, with a voice in my ear telling me exactly what I'm wearing, exactly where I am, exactly how they're going to find me. I had packed my life into boxes just 12 hours earlier. Portland to Austin. A new job, a new start, running away from a relationship that had become toxic in ways that only now, with distance, can I recognize. The moving truck was a 20-foot Penske, white with that bright orange logo filled to the roof with furniture, boxes labeled with my hurried handwriting, and the dismantled remains of a life that had taken 5 years to build. I left Austin at 8 o'clock on Friday night. I planned to drive all night, reach Texas by dawn on Saturday, push on to Austin by noon. 30 hours of driving with minimal stops. It was stupid. I know that now, but at the time, fueled by Red Bulls and the desperation to start over, it seemed possible. By midnight, I was in eastern New Mexico, the lights of Albuquerque disappearing in my rearview mirror. The interstate stretched ahead like a black ribbon, occasionally interrupted by the reflective eyes of desert animals on the shoulder. Traffic was almost non-existent. 1 semi every 20 minutes, 1 car every half hour. I was perfectly, completely alone. At 3 in the morning, crossing into Texas, exhaustion hit me like a physical wave. My eyelids felt like they had weights tied to them. I opened all the windows in the truck, letting the cold desert air whip my face, but it didn't help much. I had spilled coffee on my shirt at my last gas stop, a dark brown stain right in the center that looked like a misshapen continent. My jeans had holes in both knees, more from wear than style. My hair was pulled back into a messy bun that probably looked ridiculous, but kept the hair out of my eyes. I was thinking about all these mundane things: the coffee stain, my sore knees from the truck's stiff clutch, how much longer I could drive without rest, when my phone vibrated. It was in the dashboard holder, its sudden blue glow lighting up the dark cabin like a flash. Unknown number. Normally, I wouldn't answer, but it was 3 in the morning, and my tired brain thought, maybe it's an emergency. Maybe it's the moving company. Maybe it's my mom using someone else's phone because hers died. I pressed answer, putting it on speaker. Hello? Static. Then breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Hello? I repeated, my irritation overcoming any initial nervousness. If this is a joke. White Penske truck, said a voice. Male. Electronically distorted, as if it were being run through a voice modulator. Oregon license plate. Driver, female, brown hair, 26 years old. Wearing blue jeans with holes in the knees and a gray shirt with a coffee stain in the center. My blood turned to ice. What? The whisper came out strangled. I know exactly where you're going, the voice continued, that distorted tone making it sound robotic and all too human at the same time. And I'm watching you. Right now, I'm watching you. My hand flew to the hang-up button, pressing it so hard I almost dropped the phone. The call was cut off, the silence of the cab suddenly deafening except for the hum of the engine and my own breath coming out in shallow gasps. My eyes went to the mirrors. Left, right, rear view. The road behind me was empty, just darkness stretching to the horizon. No cars, no headlights. Just some idiot, I said aloud, my voice shaking. Just someone joking around, guessing. But how did they guess? How did they know the type of truck, the color, the condition of my license plate? How did they know what I was wearing? How did they know about the coffee stain? Unless they could see me, right now. I accelerated, the speedometer of the heavy truck climbing slowly. 80, 90. The limit was 75, but I didn't care. I needed to move. I needed to be anywhere but where I was. My phone vibrated again. Unknown number. I didn't answer it. I let it ring, the sound filling the cab like an alarm. It rang 6 times, then stopped. 10 seconds of silence. Then it started again. Stop! I yelled at the phone, as if it could hear me. Stop, stop, stop! I grabbed the phone, blocked the number with trembling fingers, throwing it back into the passenger seat as if it were hot. 2 minutes apiece. 2 minutes where there was only the road, the truck, and the furious beating of my heart. Then it vibrated again. Different number, but I knew it was him. This time, I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, my phone beeped. Voice message. I didn't want to listen to it. Every instinct screamed not to. But I needed to know. I needed to understand what was going on. With one hand on the wheel, I grabbed the phone, opened voicemail, pressed play. Static. Then that distorted voice. You can't block me, Zenith. I have all your numbers. Your new Austin number that you haven't given to anyone yet. Your work number. Your old Portland home number that you canceled last week. I know everything about you. Every dating profile you've ever made. Every photo you've ever posted. Every place you go. And I'm watching you right now, driving too fast, your hands shaking on the wheel. You should be more careful. Accidents happen on these roads. The recording cut off. The phone slipped from my fingers, hitting the passenger floor. Dating profiles. I had made them. 3 of them. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. During the last year of my crumbling relationship, looking for evidence that there were decent people out there, that not everyone was like my ex, who was becoming more controlling and paranoid every month. I had met someone. Quillen. Or at least that's what his profile said. We had been talking for 2 weeks. He seemed normal, friendly, interested. He suggested we meet up. I told him I was busy. He suggested again. I told him maybe later. Then his messages became strange. Too specific. I saw you went to New Seasons today. That coffee shop on Hawthorne is good, right? Your car is the blue Subaru, right? I blocked him. I deleted my profile. I made new profiles with different photos. No geolocation, no identifiable details. But it was too late. He already knew where I lived, where I worked, what I drove. He started showing up, at the grocery store, at my coffee shop. Outside my building, I filed a police report. I got a restraining order. I changed my routes. I varied my schedule. And when I got the job in Austin, I didn't tell anyone except my employer and my immediate family. I deleted all my social media accounts. I got a new phone. I thought I had escaped. But he knew. He knew about the move. He knew about Austin. He knew which truck I had rented, which route I was taking, because he had probably put a tracker on my car, on my belongings, somewhere. And now he was out there in the dark, following me, watching my every move. I checked my mirrors obsessively now, every 5 seconds, left, right, rear view. The highway still seemed empty, but there had to be someone, somewhere. I could feel it. A sign passed by. Yellow, 120 miles. 120 miles to the next real town. 120 miles of nothing but darkness and empty highway. My phone vibrated again. I didn't look. I couldn't. If I looked, if I saw another unknown number, I would completely lose my composure. But it vibrated again and again, call after call, each going to voicemail, each probably leaving another message with that distorted voice telling me how helpless she was. Then I saw headlights in my rearview mirror. Distant at first, maybe half a mile back, but getting closer, fast. I accelerated. The heavy truck struggled, its engine groaning, but I pushed harder. The headlights kept pace. They caught up and stayed there, 100 yards back, just close enough to see, far enough away to not be obviously threatening. It was a sedan, dark. I couldn't see the model or color for sure. Just those two bright lights in my mirror. Relentless as eyes. My phone vibrated again, and this time, in my panic, I grabbed it without thinking, pressing answer. "What do you want?" I yelled. Laughter. Distorted, electronically modulated, but definitely laughter. "You finally answer. I was starting to think you didn't want to talk." "Leave me alone. I called the police. They know where I am." More laughter. "You didn't. I can see your phone. No outgoing calls except my number. No one knows where you are, Zenith. No one knows you're in trouble. Just you and me, as it should be. You're sick. I'm dedicated. There's a difference. I told you in Portland that you weren't done with me, but you blocked me. You hid. You thought moving cities would be enough. But you don't understand. I'll never be enough until you understand that we're meant to be." I hung up again, throwing the phone on the floor, stomping on it with my foot, not caring if I broke it. The sedan in my mirror got closer, 50 yards, 30. Then it moved into the left lane, accelerating until it was parallel to me. I didn't look. I couldn't. If I looked, if I saw his face, it would become real in a way I couldn't handle. But in my peripheral vision, I could see the car, the dark windows, and a bright light. A phone, pressed against the passenger window, recording me. A sob escaped my throat. It moved into the right lane, cutting me off, forcing me to brake. The heavy truck shook, the boxes in the back shifting, something breaking with the sound of glass shattering. It stayed ahead of me, slowing down, forcing me to slow down too. 60, 50, 40. Then it sped up again, disappearing into the darkness ahead, leaving me shaking, sweat soaking my shirt despite the cold air coming in through the open windows. My phone, now on the floor, probably cracked, vibrated again. I couldn't reach it without taking my eyes off the road, but I could hear it. Vibrate after vibrate after vibrate. A sign appeared. Rest area, 5 miles. 5 miles to a public place, maybe with other people, maybe with cameras, or maybe empty, maybe the perfect place for an ambush. But I couldn't keep driving like this. My body was shaking so violently that I could barely keep the truck in the lane. My vision was narrowing at the edges, black spots dancing in my sight. The sign, rest area, 1 mile. I put on my turn signal, a ridiculous part of my brain still following the rules of the road. The exit ramp appeared. I took it, the truck roaring as it slowed down. The rest area was small. A low concrete building with restrooms, vending machines, a couple of picnic tables under a lone light. And most importantly, 3 semis parked in the large truck section. People. There were people here. I pulled the truck into a space near the entrance to the building, directly under a bright security light. I put the truck in park, turned off the engine, and I sat there, my hands still gripping the steering wheel, unable to let go, unable to move. A knock on my window made me scream. A man was standing there, 50-something, wearing a baseball cap, gray beard, trucker clothes, looking at me with concern. I rolled down the window with trembling hands. "Miss, are you okay?" His voice was soft, kind. "I saw you come in. You look like you've had a scare." Someone was following me." The words came out in a rush. "He keeps calling me, telling me he's watching me. He cut me off. He recorded me. Is he still here? I don't know. His car, it was a dark sedan. I couldn't see the model." Okay. Stay in the truck. I'm going to check the area. Do you have a phone? Did you call the police?" I bent down, picking up my phone from the floor. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. "No, I was afraid that if I called, he would somehow know." "Call now. I'll be right out here keeping watch." I dialed 911 with fingers that were shaking so badly it took me 3 tries. 911, what is your emergency?" Someone has been following me. On Interstate 40 rest area near the 80-mile marker, he's been calling me, following my truck. He knows me from Portland. He's been harassing me. Ma'am, breathe. Are you safe now? I'm at a rest area. There's a truck driver here. He's keeping watch, but the guy, he might come back. He knows where I am. We're sending units now. Can you describe the stalker? No. I never saw his face, just his car. Dark sedan. But he followed me from Portland. He knows everything about me. My new phone number. My move to Austin. He put a tracker somewhere. Do you have the tracker? No, I don't know where it is. But it has to be in my stuff, or in the moving truck. How else would he know exactly where I am? The truck driver knocked on my window again. I put the phone down. There's no one here, he said. I checked the whole area. No dark sedan. But I found this. He held up something small and black. It was under the rear bumper of your truck. GPS tracker. Magnetic. My stomach sank. Officer, I said into the phone, my voice barely working. They found a tracker on my truck. He knows exactly where I am right now. Ma'am, stay where you are. Officers are 10 minutes away. The truck driver, his name was Caspian, he told me later, stayed with me. Not next to my truck, but close enough to see, close enough to come running if anything happened. 2 other truckers joined him after he explained the situation, forming a human barrier between my truck and the highway. 10 minutes turned into 15, then 20. Finally, red and blue lights, 2 Texas State Police patrol cars. I spent the next hour giving statements, showing them my phone with the missed calls, the voicemails I couldn't bear to listen to again, telling them about Quillen, about Portland, about the restraining order. Did you get his real name? One of the officers asked. No, just the dating profile, Quillen Vex, but it was probably fake. Probably. But we have the tracker. It has a serial number. We can trace it back to the purchase. And in the meantime, what do I do? He knows where I'm going. He knows my address in Austin. He's probably there now, waiting for me. We're going to contact the Austin police, put surveillance on your new address, and we're going to escort you there. Patrol car in front, patrol car behind. If he's following us, we'll catch him. They didn't catch him. The rest of the trip to Austin was with a police escort. Caspian, the truck driver, also followed me, driving behind the second patrol car. A self-appointed guardian angel. I arrived in Austin at dawn, the sky painted in pinks and oranges. My new apartment was a gated community with security gates, cameras. Police patrol cars were parked outside. I unloaded my belongings with officers watching. They found 2 more trackers, one in a box of books, one sewn into the lining of my couch. He had been in my Portland apartment. He had touched my things. He had planted devices in objects I touched every day. They never found Quill and Vex. The dating profile was deleted. The trackers were purchased with cash at an electronics store in Vancouver, Washington. The calls came from prepaid phones, impossible to trace. I changed my number again. I got new furniture, getting rid of everything I had brought from Portland. I installed my own cameras. I vary my routes. I never post my location. I never accept requests from strangers online. But every time my phone rings, every time I see a dark sedan, every time I drive down an empty highway at night, I'm back in that moving truck, hearing that distorted voice. My name is Cypress Holloway, and I am 28 years old. There are nights when I cannot sleep without all the lights in my apartment on, when the sound of something hitting my window, a branch, the rain, whatever, makes me jump out of bed with my heart pounding. Because I remember those faces, those white masks glowing in the fog like ghosts, except they weren't ghosts. They were something worse. They were humans who had chosen to become monsters, who had chosen that road, that night, that fog, and I had simply had the misfortune of being there. It was a Friday in October on the outskirts of Eugene, Oregon. I had driven 40 minutes north for a first date with a guy I met on Hinge, someone named Thorne, who looked like Chris Hemsworth in his photos, but in person looked more like, well, not Chris Hemsworth. The date had been disastrous from the moment I sat down. He had spent 90 minutes talking about his cryptocurrency startup that was going to revolutionize the world, and his ex-girlfriend who just didn't understand his vision. By the time I finally managed to escape, it was 11 o'clock at night, and I was exhausted, irritated, and desperate to get home. Route 36 was the fastest way back to Eugene, a 2-lane highway that wound through dense forest and occasional valleys. During the day, it was beautiful, all that lush Oregon green, but at night it was different. At night, it became a black ribbon, surrounded by trees that stood like silent giants, their branches intertwining over the road to create an endless tunnel. I had driven this route dozens of times. I knew every curve, every sign. I wasn't afraid to drive at night. Or at least, I wasn't afraid before. I had been on the road for 20 minutes when the fog began. At first, it was subtle, just thin wisps floating above the asphalt like ghosts of smoke. But within minutes, it grew denser, thicker, rising from the valleys on either side of the road like something alive, creeping up. I slowed down. 80 kilometers per hour, 60, 50. My headlights barely penetrated the fog, creating a faint cone of light that faded into milky white after a few meters. The yellow lines down the center of the road disappeared completely. I was driving blind, relying on memory of where the road should be. 40 kilometers per hour, 30. My breath condensed on the windshield, adding another layer of opacity. I rolled down the window, letting in cold, damp air that smelled of wet pine and earth. That's when I saw them. Figures. At the edge of the shoulder. 2 of them. Tall, completely motionless. My foot flew to the brake, the car skidding slightly on the wet pavement before coming to a stop. The figures didn't move. They just stood there, looking at my car, at me. In the dim light of my headlights, I could see them better. Tall, yes. Maybe 6 feet, 6 feet 5. Wearing dark clothes, hoodies pulled up, and their faces were white. Completely white. With exaggerated red smiles painted on, empty black eyes, cheeks with red circles. Masks. Homemade clown masks. The kind you buy at a costume shop for $5. But there was something about the way they stood, so still, so silent. Like mannequins placed on the side of the road by some sick joke. Except they weren't mannequins. One of them tilted his head, slowly, deliberately. Like a dog listening to a distant sound. My stomach twisted. Okay, I whispered to myself. Okay, just keep driving. I released the brake, accelerating gently, passing by the figures. I didn't look at them. I kept my eyes fixed ahead, in the fog, on the road I could barely see. But in my side mirror, I saw them turn, their masked heads following my car as I passed, watching me. I sped up, 50 miles per hour, 60. Too fast for visibility, but I didn't care. I needed distance. I needed to be away from those things, because they weren't just people in masks. There was something wrong with how they moved, how they stood so still until they needed to move, like predators waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. The road curved to the left. I took the turn too fast, feeling the tires slip slightly before regaining traction. Ahead, more figures, 3 of them this time, spaced out along the shoulder like sentinels, all wearing masks, all completely still. My breath came out in a choked gasp. What the hell? The words escaped before I could stop them. I drove past them, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. One of them raised its hand, not waving, just raising it, pointing at my car, pointing at me. The road straightened out. I accelerated further, 70, 80. The fog was so thick now that I was basically guessing where the road was, but I couldn't slow down, not with those things out there. Then I heard the first thud, a loud metallic sound against my rear bumper, like something had hit the metal. I checked my rearview mirror. Just fog, just white. Another thud, louder. The whole car shook. Shit. My foot pressed the accelerator to the floor. Another thud. Something slammed into my rear window, making me scream. The glass cracked, spider lines spreading from the point of impact. They weren't just standing figures. They were throwing things, stones, rocks, whatever they could grab, trying to break my windows, trying to stop me. My brain raced through every news story I'd ever heard. People being forced to stop on isolated highways, robbed, attacked, worse. This was a trap. It had to be. They scare you so much that you stop, or they destroy your car enough that you can't continue, and then they've got you, helpless, alone, in the middle of nowhere. I grabbed my phone from the dashboard holder, nearly dropping it with trembling hands. 1 signal bar. 1. I dialed 911, pressing the phone to my ear with my shoulder, while keeping both hands on the wheel. 911, what is your emergency? There are people on Route 36. They're wearing masks. They're throwing things at my car, trying to stop me. The words came out in a rushed torrent. Ma'am, calm down. We're on Route 36. I don't know. Maybe 10 kilometers north of Eugene. It's foggy. I can barely see, but they're everywhere. How many people? I don't know. I've seen at least 6, maybe more, all wearing clown masks, just standing on the shoulder until I pass. Then they throw rocks. The line crackled. Knowledge of activity. Local gang. Initiation. What? I can't hear. Youth gang. Ritual. Scare drivers. Occasional theft. Patrols on the way. The connection was cut. My phone displayed no signal in the corner. No. I groaned. No, come back. Another knock, this time on my door. So hard that the car veered to the right. Then I saw them, on the shoulder, not just standing, running, parallel to my car. 3 figures in clown masks, hoods up, moving at my speed like wolves chasing prey. I accelerated, 90 kilometers per hour in fog so thick I couldn't see beyond my hood. A curve appeared out of nowhere. I slammed on the brakes, turning sharply, the tires screeching. The car skidded, its rear end swaying, almost going into the ditch before I regained control. My heart was beating so hard it physically hurt. Every breath was a harsh gasp. Sweat ran down my back despite the cold. The figures had disappeared from view, but I knew they were still there, in the fog, waiting. The road straightened out. I accelerated again, pushing the car beyond any safe limit. Then I saw something ahead. Lights. Multiple lights. Blocking the road. I slowed down, my foot wavering between the brake and the accelerator. Was it help, or more of them? The lights became clearer. They weren't headlights. They were flashlights. Maybe a dozen of them, held by figures stretching across both lanes, all wearing masks. They had blocked the road. They were forcing me to stop. No, I whispered. "No, I'm not stopping." I put my foot down on the accelerator. 50 kilometers, 60, 70, straight toward them. The figures didn't move. They just stood there, their flashlights pointed at my car, blinding me with bright light. 80, 90, 10 meters, 5. At the last second, they scattered, jumping into the ditches on either side, their flashlights falling, voices shouting things I couldn't understand over the roar of my engine. I drove through the space where they had been, something hitting my hood, maybe a flashlight, maybe a rock, but I didn't stop. I wasn't going to stop. The road continued, winding through the endless fog. Every shadow looked like a figure. Every tree looked like a person wearing a mask. My brain invented threats in every inch of fog. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the fog cleared. 1 second I was driving blind. The next, I was in clear air under a star-filled sky. And ahead, maybe half a mile away, I saw lights. Streetlights. Buildings. A town. Mopen. It had to be Mopen, a small town halfway to Eugene. I almost sobbed with relief. I roared into town, my tires squealing as I turned onto Main Street. A gas station, a convenience store, and there, thank God, a police station. A small brick building with a single patrol car parked outside. I pulled into the parking lot, put the car in park, and just sat there, my hands still gripping the steering wheel, my body still shaking so violently that my teeth were chattering. The station door opened. An officer came out, maybe 50 years old, with a belly and a confused expression. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I got out of the car, my legs barely working. "The masks," I managed to say. "On Route 36. People with masks trying to stop me." His expression changed. Recognition. Then something darker. Anger, perhaps. "Shit. The clowns. What? Come in." It wasn't a suggestion. Inside the station, he gave me coffee that I couldn't drink because my hands were shaking too much. Another officer had arrived, a young woman with a serious expression. "The clowns," said the first officer, whose badge read Ramirez, "is what we call them. A gang of young people, between 14 and 20 years old. They operate on Route 36 when it's foggy. They wear masks to scare drivers. Most of the time it's just sick fun for them. But sometimes they turn it into something more." "Something else?" My voice sounded hollow. "Robbery. Assault. 2 months ago, a woman pulled over. She thought she'd hit someone because they threw something under her tires. When she got out to check, they surrounded her. They took her purse, her phone, her car. They left her walking in the fog." My stomach twisted. That could have been me. If I had braked when I saw the first figures. If I had stopped when they blocked the road. "Why don't you catch them?" The words came out harsher than I intended. "We've tried," said the officer, to whose badge read Solus. "But they know when there are patrols in the area. They have lookouts. And the fog. It makes it almost impossible to track them. By the time we get there, they've disappeared into the woods." "And you just let them do this?" Ramirez sighed, rubbing his face. "We've increased patrols. We've warned people not to drive on 36 at night when it's foggy. But we can't be everywhere." "Is it a rite of passage?" I remembered what the 911 operator had said before the line went dead. Solus nodded. "To join the gang, they have to do a car. Either by scaring the driver enough to stop or by causing enough damage to disable it. It's a game to them." "A game," I repeated, and something in my voice made both officers look at me. "I know," Ramirez said softly. "It's sick, and we're taking it seriously. Can you describe any of them?" "No, just white clown masks, dark hoodies, all tall, I think, but I could be wrong about that." "How many did you see?" "At least 10, maybe more. Some just standing, some running alongside my car, some blocking the road with flashlights." "Flashlights?" The officers exchanged glances. "That's new. They're getting more organized. I spent the next 2 hours at that station, giving statements, looking at photos of known gang members, none of whom I recognized because I'd never seen their faces before, filling out insurance forms for my cracked rear window and dented bumper. When they finally let me go, Ramirez insisted on escorting me back to Eugene. "Not on 36, he said. "Take 58. It's longer, but it's lit. And there's no fog." The drive home took an extra hour. Every minute, I checked my rearview mirror, expecting to see masked figures materializing out of the darkness. But they didn't appear. It was just me, Ramirez's patrol car behind me, and the empty road. I got to my apartment around 3 in the morning. Ramirez waited until I was inside, all the locks secured before he left. I sat on my couch, still shaking, still seeing those masks every time I closed my eyes. My phone vibrated. A message from Thorne, the date disaster. "Hey, sorry if I came on too strong. Second chance?" I deleted it without replying, because none of that mattered. The date, his stupid startup, his ex. All that mattered were those faces in the fog, those white masks, those figures waiting for someone to make a mistake, waiting for someone to stop. That was 4 months ago. The clowns were finally caught 3 weeks after my incident. 12 young people, the oldest 17, all facing charges of assault, vandalism, attempted robbery. But the news said there were probably more. Members who got away, who are still out there, waiting for the next foggy night. I don't drive Route 36 anymore, not even during the day, not even when the sky is clear. And when it's foggy, any fog, even in the city, I stay inside, with all the doors locked, all the lights on, because I still see those faces, those white masks glowing in the fog, that slow tilt of the head, like predators deciding if you're worth the hunt. And I know that if I ever stopped, if I had gotten out of my car, I wouldn't be here telling this story. I would be another statistic, another victim, another person who thought they could help, or reason with monsters who had chosen to wear clown masks and terrorize strangers for fun. It was a Tuesday in November. I had spent 3 days in Fargo at the funeral of my Uncle Garrick, a man I barely knew, but whom my mother insisted I had to attend. The ceremony had been long, the reception endless, and by the time I finally escaped, it was 9 o'clock at night, and I was exhausted in a way that went beyond the physical. It was the kind of exhaustion that sinks into your bones, that makes your thoughts slow and sluggish. I had a 4-hour drive back to Bismarck on Highway 94, a straight, monotonous road that cut through flat, empty fields. In the summer, it was probably beautiful, all that golden wheat stretching to the horizon. But in November, it was desolate, just black earth and black sky, occasionally interrupted by the distant lights of a farm. My old Subaru Outback purred steadily as it ate up the miles. The heater was broken, the driver's side blowing cold air no matter how much I turned the knob. I wore my winter jacket with the collar up, my gloves on, my breath forming clouds in the air. The radio picked up nothing but static. Every 10 minutes I tried a news station, turning the dial, hoping to find music, or news, or anything except that harsh white hiss. But there was nothing. Just static, and the hum of the engine, and the sound of the tires on the asphalt. I had been on the road for 2 hours when I saw them. Lights, flashing in the darkness ahead. Red and amber, that urgent flashing of emergency lights. A car on the shoulder. A green Honda Civic, maybe a 2005 model, its hood crushed against the windshield like crumpled paper. The car was at a strange angle, its front end in the shallow ditch that ran parallel to the road. Its rear end still on the shoulder. My foot went to the brake automatically. That good Samaritan instinct, that thing you're taught as a child about helping others, kicked in without my conscious brain having to decide. I stopped about 20 yards behind the damaged car, leaving my high beams on to illuminate the scene. I could see that there was someone outside the car, a figure, female judging by the silhouette, moving from side to side, her arms flailing. I put my car in park, turned off the engine, grabbed my phone from the holder. 1 bar of signal. Better than nothing. I stepped out into the biting cold of North Dakota in November. The wind cut right through my jacket, bringing with it the smell of frozen earth and something else. Something metallic and sweet that made my stomach tighten. The woman ran toward me as soon as I got out. 30-something maybe. Messy blonde hair, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt that said Bison Nation. Her face was streaked with tears, her makeup smudged in black streaks. "Thank God," she cried, grabbing my arm with fingers that dug into me even through my jacket. "Thank God you stopped. No one else stopped. 3 cars have gone by and they just kept going. Are you hurt?" My voice sounded strange in the silence of the open field. Too loud, too clear. "No, not me, but my husband, my daughter. They're in the trunk." Her words came out in a hysterical torrent. "We were going home. He hit something, I don't know what, and the car spun around and the impact slammed the back door shut, and they were in the back seat and now they're trapped in the trunk. And I can hear them banging, but I can't open it." It took a second for my brain to process what she was saying. In the trunk. How had they ended up in the trunk from the back seat? But there was no time for questions. If people were trapped, especially a child, every second mattered. "Did you call 911? I was pulling out my phone. No signal. I tried so hard." She pulled my arm, dragging me toward her car. "Please, just help me open it. I can hear them. They're in there." The smell grew stronger as I got closer to the car. That sweet metallic smell. Blood. Definitely blood. Fresh. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep moving. If there were people hurt. "Where's the trunk release lever?" I asked. "Broken. The accident broke it, and the remote button too, and the trunk lock itself it's rusted. It won't turn." Her voice rose to a shriek. "You can hear them. Listen." We stopped at the back of the car. The trunk was closed, its green paint scratched and dented. And from inside, barely audible over the wind, I heard something. Knocks. Faint, desperate, and voices. Muffled, but definitely voices. One deeper, male, one higher, a girl. "Help us, please." My heart raced. This was real. There were people actually trapped in there. "The lock," the woman gasped, pointing to the trunk lock. If you can pry it open or something." I knelt down, pulling out my phone flashlight, shining it on the lock. It was old, rusty, the metal pale green around the edges. The key slot was filled with dirt. "Do you have anything I can use? A screwdriver? A knife?" "In the car, in the glove compartment." She ran back to the driver's door, yanking it open. The banging from the trunk continued. More urgent now, and the voices, though muffled, sounded terrified. Dad, I'm scared." "It's okay, honey, they're trying to get us out." The smell of blood was overwhelming now. I could see it. Dark smears on the edge of the trunk where it met the bumper. Fresh. Shiny under the light of my phone. The woman came running back, shoving a flathead screwdriver into my hand. Use this." I stuck the screwdriver into the lock, trying to force the mechanism. The metal squeaked, resisting, then gave slightly. I twisted, pushed, feeling it bite deeper. The moans from inside grew louder, more frantic, as if they knew we were close, that release was seconds away. "Almost," I gasped, sweat running down my face despite the cold. "Almost there." One final click. The lock mechanism gave way. The trunk swung open. And it was empty. Completely, utterly empty. There was no one inside. No husband, no daughter. Just the fabric-lined interior of the trunk, stained with what looked like fresh blood. Puddles of it dripping from the lining, soaking the trunk carpet. And in the center, a phone. An iPhone with a bright pink case. Its screen lit up, showing a voice message playing. An older woman's voice came from the speaker. "Honey, I know you probably won't hear me until it's too late, but I need to warn you. I've seen the news. There's a couple operating on 94, faking accidents, getting people to stop. Please don't stop for anyone. No matter how bad it looks, just call the police and keep driving. These criminals, they've hurt people. I don't want you to be next." The message ended. The silence that followed was absolute except for the wind and the sound of my own breathing, rapid and shallow. I turned slowly. The woman was standing 3 meters away, no longer crying, no longer hysterical, just looking at me with an expression I couldn't read in the darkness. "There's no one there," I said, and my voice came out strange, distant. "The trunk is empty." "I know." Her voice was different now, colder, more controlled. "I never said there was anyone in there now. I said they were trapped. Past tense. They were. They're not anymore." My brain struggled to process that. "What?" "They left about 20 minutes ago. My husband took the tow truck. But you stopped, like the last one. And the one before that." Her hand slid into her sweatshirt pocket. "There's always someone who stops. There's always a good Samaritan who can't help themselves." Something glinted in her hand. Metal. A knife. I didn't think. I just ran. Toward my car, my feet slipping on the gravel, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would explode. 20 yards had never seemed so far. The space stretched out, each step feeling like I was running through molasses. Behind me, I heard her footsteps. Fast, gaining ground. "Don't make this difficult." Her voice, no longer sweet, no longer scared. "Just give me your purse and your phone. That's all we want." I reached my car, my fingers clumsy as I grabbed the handle. Locked. I had locked it. "No, no, no." My fingers found the button on the key fob, pressing it frantically. The car beeped, the locks clicking. Her hand grabbed my shoulder, pulling me back. I spun around, swinging my arm wildly. My fist connected with something, her face, maybe her shoulder, and she screamed, backing away. I yanked the door open, throwing myself inside, slamming it shut, just as she recovered, lunging forward. Her fists pounded on my window. "Open the door. I wasn't even going to hurt you. Just give me your shit." My fingers found the ignition. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I put the car in drive, my foot pressing down on the accelerator. The Subaru lurched forward, throwing her backward. I watched her fall, roll, then stand up shouting things I couldn't hear over the roar of the engine. I accelerated to 60, 70, 80. My hands shook so violently on the steering wheel that I could barely keep the car straight. My breath came in choked sobs that I couldn't control. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. Headlights. Approaching fast, the green Honda, not as damaged as it had seemed. In fact, driving perfectly fine. I had been tricked. It had all been an act. The crashed car, the emergency lights, the tears, the story about the people trapped inside, the moans from the trunk, probably a recording on the phone, the blood, probably animal or fake. And now they were chasing me. I sped up more, 90, 100. The Honda kept pace, closer, closer. My phone. I needed my phone. It was in the dashboard holder. I grabbed it with one hand, trying to unlock the screen while keeping the car straight with the other. My fingers slipped, trembled. Finally, I unlocked it. One signal bar, still. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? I'm being chased. The words came out in a shout. On 94, maybe 10 miles west of Valley City, a green Honda. They tricked me into stopping, faked an accident, tried to rob me. Ma'am, are you in immediate danger? Yes. They're chasing me right now. Can you see a license plate? I looked in my mirror. The Honda was so close now that I could see two figures inside. The woman driving, and someone else in the passenger seat. A man. Big. Maybe the husband from the story. But the license plate, too dark, too blurry. I can't see it. Direction of travel. West on 94, toward Bismarck. The line crackled. Sending units. Location in, stay on. The signal cut out. No, come back. I looked at my phone. No signal. The Honda accelerated, moving alongside me, trying to force me off the road. I swerved sharply to the right, my tires grazing the shoulder, gravel hitting the undercarriage with sounds like gunshots. The Honda stayed with me, matching my every move. Then it moved ahead, its brake lights flashing. They were slowing down, blocking my path, forcing me to slow down too, or crash into them. I slammed on the brakes, my Subaru skidding, almost losing control before stabilizing. The Honda stopped. Completely. In the middle of the road. Its doors opened. 2 figures got out. The woman. And a man, just as I had thought. Tall, broad, walking purposefully toward my car. I turned the steering wheel sharply, trying to go around them on the shoulder. But the shoulder was narrow, the ditch deep. My front tires sank into soft dirt, the car getting stuck. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I put the car in reverse. The tires spun, throwing up dirt, finding no traction. The figures drew closer. 10 feet, 6. The man was holding something, not a knife, something bigger. A crowbar. Perhaps. My feet found the accelerator, pushing it to the floor. The engine roared, the tires screeching, the car shaking. Then, miraculously, it bit. The tires found something solid pushing against it. The car broke free, jumping backward onto the road. I slammed on the brakes, shifted into drive, and accelerated around the Honda parked on the opposite side. The man swung his crowbar, hitting my rear window. The glass shattered, exploding inward, fragments raining down on the back seat. But I was already passing, accelerating, tires screeching. In my mirror, I saw them run back to their car. The doors slammed shut. The engine roared. They were coming back. But ahead, I saw something. Lights. Not just headlights. Red and blue lights. Multiple sets. Patrol cars. 3 of them, approaching from the opposite direction. The 911 operator. She must have gotten my location before the call dropped. She must have dispatched units. The patrol cars passed me, their sirens blaring, then turned. 2 positioning themselves behind me, 1 ahead, forming a barrier between me and the Honda. Through my mirror, I saw the Honda slow down, then make a sudden U-turn, speeding back in the direction they had come from. The patrol cars gave chase, their lights disappearing into the distance. One of the patrol cars stayed with me, signaling for me to pull over. I pulled over to the shoulder, my hand still gripping the steering wheel, unable to let go even after the engine was off. The officer knocked on my window. I rolled it down with trembling fingers. "Mr. Thorne." His voice was gentle. "I'm Officer Ramirez. Are you injured?" I shook my head, unable to form words. "The other officers are pursuing the vehicle now. Can you describe the suspects?" I told them everything. The fake car crash, the woman and her story, the empty trunk with blood, and the warning message on the phone. The chase. The attempt to force me off the road. "You're lucky," Ramirez said. "Very lucky. This couple, they've been operating for weeks. 2 other victims reported similar incidents, but you're the first one who got away without being robbed. Did you catch them? My colleagues are in pursuit now. Hopefully, yes." He escorted me to the nearest station in Valley City. I spent hours there, giving statements, looking at photos of known suspects, waiting for news about the chase. Finally, around 4 in the morning, word came in. The Honda had been found abandoned near Jamestown. The occupants had fled on foot. Search teams were combing the area. They let me go with a police escort to Bismarck. I didn't get home until dawn. That was 5 months ago. The pair were finally caught 3 weeks later, trying to pull off the same scheme near Minot. Vesper and Caspian Vex. Both with extensive criminal records, facing multiple charges of theft, assault, fraud. But I still see that trunk every time I close my eyes. Empty except for blood, and that phone, and that warning voice that came too late. Don't stop for anyone. I still wake up to the sound of the windshield wipers. That frantic, desperate rhythm, trying to push away the water that was falling as if the sky had split in 2. And then, the screech of brakes. Always the screech of brakes. It was 3 years ago, but it could have been last night. It could be happening right now. It all started with Tavish. It always started with Tavish, with his sharp words, and the way he made me feel small, insignificant. That night, we had argued over something stupid. I don't even remember what it was. The dishes, money, my mother. Everything got mixed up in a whirlwind of reproaches that we knew by heart, a script rehearsed so many times that we didn't even need to think about the lines anymore. "It's always the same with you, Saffron," he had yelled at me, "always running away." And he was right. I was running away. I grabbed the keys to my Honda Civic without saying a word, without looking back as he continued to shout from the living room. The door slammed shut, surely waking the neighbors, but I didn't care. I needed air, space, anything other than that claustrophobic apartment in Portland we had shared for 2 years. The sky was dark and threatening. It was almost 10 o'clock at night, and the first drops were already beginning to fall when I started the engine. I had no destination. I drove onto Interstate 5, heading south, heading nowhere. I just wanted to get away. The rain started in earnest about 20 minutes out of town. It wasn't gradual. It was as if someone had opened a floodgate. Suddenly, the world was water. The windshield wipers, even at full speed, could barely keep the windshield clear for half a second before it was covered again. The lights of other cars disappeared. The highway emptied. I should have stopped. I should have sought shelter at a gas station or rest area. But I was furious. At Tavish, at myself, at everything. So I kept driving, clutching the steering wheel with white knuckles, leaning forward, as if that would help me see better. Tears mixed with the rain on my head. Why did I stay with him? Why did I let him talk to me like that? My best friend Zephyr had asked me that 100 times. I didn't have an answer. Or I did, but it was pathetic. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of admitting that I had wasted 3 years of my life with someone who made me miserable. I was so lost in my thoughts that I almost didn't see him. It was a movement in the darkness, a shadow denser than the others. He appeared in my lane, materializing out of nowhere. A cyclist, in the middle of a torrential storm, on a highway, without lights, without anything reflective. I screamed and turned the steering wheel violently to the left. The car skidded on the wet asphalt. I felt that loss of control, that eternal second when the car doesn't respond and you can only grit your teeth and pray. The tires finally found traction and the car straightened out, but my heart was pounding so hard it hurt. "What the hell?" I yelled inside the empty car, looking in the rearview mirror. I shouldn't have looked. There he was, pedaling behind me on the highway, at what appeared to be the same speed I was driving, about 70 kilometers per hour. That was impossible. I told myself it was an optical illusion, that the rain was distorting distances. But I couldn't take my eyes off the mirror. The dark figure remained there, steady, pedaling with mechanical, rigid movements. He wasn't wearing a helmet. He wasn't wearing anything I could see, just a dark silhouette riding a black bicycle that shouldn't have been able to keep up with a car. I accelerated, 80, 90. The windshield wipers struggled and lost against the deluge. The road was barely visible, the white lines disappearing under the water, but he was still there. My breathing became erratic. Sweat soaked my shirt despite the icy air conditioning. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. No one could pedal that fast. No one would be out in the storm on a bike in the middle of a highway. "It's okay," I said aloud, my voice shaking. "It's okay, Saffron. You're going crazy. The fight with Tavish has you upset. Just slow down. It's someone who needs help or something." But my instincts screamed otherwise. They screamed to run away. I slowed down anyway. 60. 50. I gave him room to pass me, to continue on his way and disappear into the night as he had appeared. He didn't pass me. He stayed exactly the same distance behind me, matching my speed. 40 kilometers per hour now. 30. 20. A flash of lightning lit up the sky and I saw his face. He had no face. He was wearing a clear plastic bag over his head tied around his neck. Through it, I could see something. Distorted features, an open mouth pressed against the plastic. The eyes were dark, empty spots. I screamed, or I floored the accelerator. The engine roared, and the car leapt forward, skidding slightly before picking up speed. 95, 100, 110 kilometers per hour in a storm where I could barely see 3 meters ahead. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to get away from that thing on the bike. But when I looked in the rearview mirror, there it was, closer now, much closer, pedaling with that unnatural precision, those movements that didn't seem human. The legs moved up and down like pistons. The arms clinging to the handlebars were rigid, immobile, except for a slight tremor. How was this possible? How? My mind searched for rational explanations. Drugs. I was on drugs. The stress of the relationship had finally broken me. I was having a nervous breakdown while driving. That would explain everything. Any moment now, I would wake up in the hospital or in my bed with Tavish shaking me and asking what was wrong. But the steering wheel under my hands felt real. The roar of the engine felt real. And the figure in the mirror, getting closer and closer, felt real. "Get away," I shouted, even though I knew he couldn't hear me. "Get away from me." There was something in his hands now. Something I hadn't seen before. A hammer. A large hammer with a wooden handle, the kind they use in construction. He held it in his right hand as he pedaled with one hand on the handlebars. Panic consumed me completely. My vision narrowed to a tunnel. My breathing was too fast, too shallow. The edges of my vision began to darken. "No, no, no," I gasped. "Don't pass out. Not now. Not with that thing out there." I searched for my phone. It was on the passenger seat where I had thrown it. With one hand on the wheel and my eyes on the road and the mirror, I reached out. Groping, my fingers touched the case. Another flash of lightning. This time I saw more detail. The wet clothes clinging to the body, the fingers clenched around the hammer, white from the pressure. And the bag, that damn transparent bag, fogged up inside by his breath, creating a ghostly vapor. I grabbed the phone. The screen lit up. No signal. Of course, there was no signal. I was in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, on a back highway I had taken without thinking, fleeing with no destination. And he was less than 10 feet from my bumper. "No," I screamed. I braked. I didn't think about it. It was instinct, pure panic. I slammed on the brakes with all my strength. The car stopped short, skidding, spinning slightly. The tires screeched even under the water. And the bike, that damn bike, couldn't stop. The impact was dull, metallic. I felt the blow through the whole car. The bike hit the rear bumper, and the figure flew over the car in a grotesque arc. I saw it through the windshield, a dark blur spinning in the air before disappearing into the darkness ahead. I froze, clutching the steering wheel, gasping. What had I just done? Had I killed him? Silence filled the car. Well, not silence. The rain pounded on the roof like 1,000 desperate fingers, but the absence of movement, of danger, was deafening. I had to get out. I had to check. It could just be a confused cyclist, perhaps mentally ill, and I had just run him over. I would go to prison. My life would be over. But I couldn't move. Every instinct I had screamed at me not to get out of the car, to keep driving, to leave him behind. Then I heard it. Knocking. Metallic knocks against my window. I turned my head slowly, with the kind of dread that makes your neck feel like hardened concrete. There he was, standing by my door, unharmed. Not a visible mark on him. The plastic bag was still on his head, fogged up, distorting his features into something horrible. And the hammer. He was banging the hammer against my window. Bang, bang, bang. The glass cracked. A white line appeared, branching out like captured lightning. I don't remember unbuckling my seatbelt. I don't remember opening the passenger door. The next thing I knew, I was running in the rain, leaving the car with the lights on and the engine running toward the woods that bordered the highway. The rain blinded me. I tripped over something, a root, a rock, and fell to my knees in the mud. I got up looking back. He was standing next to my car, watching, motionless. The hammer dangling from his right hand. Then slowly he turned toward me, I ran. The woods were dense, full of low branches that scratched my face and arms. I could see almost nothing. The dim light from the highway quickly disappeared behind me. I was enveloped in total darkness, running blindly, my hands outstretched in front of me, stumbling, falling, getting up, running again. And behind me, I could hear it. Not footsteps, not heavy breathing, the crunch of branches, but not from someone running. It was the sound of wheels, the sound of a bicycle navigating through the trees in the darkness. How was that possible? The terrain was uneven, full of obstacles. No one could ride a bike here. But there was the sound, constant, getting closer. A tree appeared out of nowhere, and I slammed into it. The impact knocked the wind out of my lungs. I fell into a sitting position, gasping for breath, my chest aching. For a moment, I considered staying there, simply giving up. I was soaked, exhausted, terrified beyond reason. But then I heard the sound closer. The wheels on the wet leaves, the crackling of breaking branches. I crawled behind the tree, making myself as small as possible. Maybe it would pass me by. Maybe it wouldn't find me in the darkness. Lightning lit up the forest. I saw him, less than 5 meters away, sitting on the bike, motionless, staring directly at where I was hiding. The plastic bag had partially torn, and I could see an eye. A single eye staring at me, unblinking, too big, too open. The darkness returned. I got up and ran again, aimlessly without a plan. I just wanted to get away. Branches whipped my face. I felt warm blood mixing with the cold rain. My lungs burned, my legs trembled. The sound of the bike never stopped. It never got quite close, but it never got far away. It was as if it were playing with me, staying just out of reach, letting me know it could catch me whenever it wanted. I don't know how long I ran. It could have been minutes or hours. Time lost all meaning. There was only terror, rain, darkness, and that damn sound chasing me. Then I saw a light ahead, not light from the highway. Something different, warmer, fainter. A cabin. It was small, dilapidated, probably abandoned, but it had windows, and through them I could see the faint glow of what looked like an oil lamp or candles. I didn't care if there was someone inside, if it was dangerous. It was shelter. It was walls. It was something between me and that thing in the woods. I ran to the door and pounded on it with my fists. "Help!" I shouted. "Please, help! There's something chasing me." Silence on the other side. I pounded harder. "Please, help!" Nothing. I tried the handle. It was locked. Behind me, the sound of the bike stopped. I turned, pressing my back against the door. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, somewhere in the darkness, watching. "What do you want?" I shouted into the shadows. "What do you want from me?" The silence that followed was worse than any answer. Then, from somewhere to my right, I heard the crack of a branch. I turned my head in that direction. Nothing. Just darkness and the constant sound of rain. Another crack, this time to the left. It was surrounding me. I searched for something. Anything I could use as a weapon. My fingers found a rock next to the cabin. I grabbed it, its weight in my hand, comforting, even though I knew it would be useless against a hammer. Another flash of lightning. It was directly in front of me. 3 meters away. Still on the bike, 1 foot on the ground, keeping it balanced. The plastic bag hung from its head, now torn, revealing more. I saw pale skin, a mouth twisted into something that wasn't quite a smile, and those eyes. God, those eyes. The hammer rose. The darkness returned. I broke the cabin window with the rock. The glass exploded inward with a crash that sounded obscenely loud in the night. I didn't care. I reached in, found the latch, opened the window, and threw myself inside. I fell onto a wooden floor, glass cutting my palms. I got up, staggering. The cabin was a single room, almost empty except for a table, 2 chairs, and an old oil lamp that provided the flickering light I had seen. It smelled of dampness and neglect. I ran to the door and bolted it. It was flimsy, weak, but it was something. The windows. There were 2 more besides the one I had broken. I ran from one to the other, closing them, even though the latches were rusted and one broke in my hand. There was no way to secure the broken window. I curled up in the far corner, hugging my knees to my chest, staring at the broken window. My breathing was ragged. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it over the rain. I waited. Minutes passed. 5, 10, maybe more. Nothing happened. Maybe it was gone. Maybe it had given up. Maybe a hand came through the broken window. I didn't see it come in. It was just suddenly there, grabbing the window frame. The fingers were long, too long, with broken, dirty nails. The skin had a grayish tone in the lamplight. I pressed myself closer to the wall, unable to scream, unable to move. The hand groped, searching. The fingers curled, stretched. Then it found what it was looking for, the edge of the frame, and pulled. The entire window came loose from the rotten frame with a creak of old wood. It tossed it aside and began to climb inside. I found my voice. I screamed. I screamed with everything I had as I stood up and searched for something. Anything. The chair. I grabbed one of the old chairs and raised it above my head. His torso was inside now. The plastic bag hung loosely around his neck. I could see him more clearly now in the lamplight, and I wished I couldn't. His skin was an unhealthy gray. His mouth was twisted into a permanent grimace. And his eyes. They didn't blink. They never blinked. I threw the chair with all my strength. It hit him in the shoulder. He didn't flinch. He just kept climbing, his movements mechanical, determined. The table. The table was heavier. I grabbed it and pushed it against the window, trying to block it, to crush him, to do something. But he just pushed it aside with a shove that shouldn't have been possible for someone halfway through climbing through a window. He was inside now, standing in the cabin with me. Water dripped from his clothes in puddles on the wooden floor. The hammer was in his right hand, that same construction hammer he had used against my window. There was nowhere else to go. The door was behind him. The other windows were too small. I was trapped. He took a step toward me, then another. The steps were heavy, slow, deliberate. "Please," I whispered. My voice sounded strange, distant. "Please, I don't know what you want. I didn't do anything to you, please." He didn't answer. I'm not sure he could. His mouth moved slightly, as if trying to form words, but only a gurgling, muffled sound came out. Another step. I grabbed the oil lamp. It was hot to the touch. The oil inside sloshed around. He raised the hammer. I threw the lamp at him. It exploded against his chest in a ball of fire. The burning oil splattered over his clothes, his face, his arms. The flames caught quickly, bright blue and yellow, but he didn't scream. He should have screamed. Anyone would scream. But he just stopped, staring at the fire consuming his body, as if it were merely an inconvenience. Then he took another step toward me. I ran. I passed him, so close I felt the heat of the flames, and jumped through the broken window to the outside. I fell into the mud, got up, and ran into the woods again. Behind me, the cabin began to burn. The fire spread quickly through the dry wood. Within seconds, the entire building was engulfed in flames that rose into the rainy sky, creating clouds of steam where the rain tried to extinguish the inferno. I didn't look back after that. I kept running. Eventually, I don't know how, I don't know when, I found the highway again. Or a highway. The lights of a car were approaching, and I stood in the middle of the lane waving my arms frantically. The car almost didn't stop. It was a large RV driven by an elderly couple, Araminta and Thaddeus, who thought I was a crazy runaway from somewhere. They probably weren't wrong. I told them I'd had an accident, that my car was somewhere in the woods. I didn't mention the bicycle, or the man with the bag over his head, or the hammer, or the fire. Who would believe me? They called the police. They took me to the hospital. Tavish came worried, guilty, scared. We discussed divorce 2 weeks later. The police found my car where I'd left it. The passenger door was open, the keys still in the ignition. The driver's side window was broken. They found the bicycle too, lying on the road, but there were no identifying marks. A generic black bicycle, ownerless. They never found the cyclist. They found the remains of the burned cabin. Authorities said it was an old, abandoned Forest Service property. The fire was attributed to lightning from the storm. There was no body inside. Sometimes, when I drive at night, which I try not to do if I can help it, I look in the rearview mirror, just to check, just to be sure. So far, I haven't seen anything, but I know it's there, somewhere, pedaling in the dark, waiting. And the next time I see it, I don't think I'll be able to escape. I should never have agreed to that trip. I know that now. I knew it then too, in some deep corner of my brain that was screaming warnings I chose to ignore. But when your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere at 11 o'clock at night and your phone has barely 5% battery life, you make stupid decisions. Decisions that almost cost me my life. It was August, one of those brutal Arizona summers where the heat of the day cooks the asphalt and exhales its hot breath all night long. I'd gone to visit my cousin Calliope in Flagstaff and was driving back to Phoenix alone on Highway 17, a route I had taken hundreds of times, a safe, common, boring route, until my Subaru started making that sound. It wasn't a normal sound. It was a sharp, metallic knocking coming from somewhere under the hood. The kind of sound that makes you grit your teeth because you know it means money, a lot of money. I ignored it for the first 10 minutes, convincing myself it would go away, but it got louder, more insistent, until the engine just coughed and died. I slid over to the shoulder, my hazard lights flashing dimly in the darkness. I tried to start it again. Nothing. The engine turned over but wouldn't catch. I slammed my fist on the steering wheel in frustration. Shit, 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 shit. My phone displayed the sad news. 5% battery, 1 bar of signal. I called AAA. The wait time was 2.5 hours due to the remote location. 2.5 hours sitting alone in the dark next to a highway where cars were passing by at 80 miles per hour. No, I couldn't do that. I looked around. About 800 meters ahead, I saw lights. A gas station. One of those old, run-down places left over from when the highway was the main route before they built the interstate. But it had lights. That meant people. That meant help. I grabbed my bag, locked the car, and started walking. The night air was still hot and sticky. My sandals weren't ideal for walking on the uneven shoulder. Around me, the desert stretched out in black shadows. Sometimes I heard coyotes howling in the distance. The gas station was even more depressing up close. 2 old pumps, a small building with windows that needed a good washing, and an outhouse I probably didn't want to use. But there was a car parked at the side. An old, dirty white Crown Victoria with a sticker on the roof that said taxi in faded red letters. A man was leaning against it smoking. He was large, heavy-set, wearing a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up despite the heat. He was maybe 45, with several days' stubble and dark hair that reached his shoulders. "Excuse me," I called out, approaching him. "Are you a taxi driver?" He looked me up and down. His eyes were light, almost watery, under the yellowish lights of the gas station. He threw away his cigarette and crushed it with his boot. "Depends on who's asking." "My car broke down back there. I need to get to Phoenix. Could you take me? I can pay whatever's reasonable." He scratched his beard, considering. "Phoenix is far. About 2 hours." "I know. I'll pay. I really need to get home." He shrugged. "Is your car insured?" "Yes, but it takes 2.5 hours for the service to arrive. Those bastards are slow." He pushed himself away from the car. "All right. 150 cash." It was a lot, but I had no choice. "Do you take cards?" "I don't carry that much cash." "Cash only." Of course. I checked my wallet. I had $93. "I have 93. Will that work?" He considered for a moment, then nodded. "Get in." I should have seen the warning signs then. The taxi had no visible meter. The interior was dirty, with that stale cigarette smell and something else, something acidic that I couldn't identify. The back seat had a large, dark stain that I tried not to look at too closely, but I was tired, frustrated, and desperate to get home, so I got in. "My name is Adeline," I said, putting on my seatbelt. "Thank you for doing this." He started the engine without responding. The car coughed before starting, similar to how mine had sounded before it died. It wasn't comforting. We left the gas station and returned to the highway. For the first 10 minutes, everything seemed normal. He drove with both hands on the wheel, his eyes fixed on the road. He didn't talk, but some drivers are like that. Not everyone wants to chat. I took out my phone, 3% battery now. I sent a quick message to my roommate, Thessaly. "Car broke down. Took a taxi back. We'll be there around 1:30. The message sent just as the phone shut down. "No charger?" I asked. "No." "Great." I put the dead phone in my bag. The silence stretched on. I broke it after another 5 minutes. "Nice night, huh?" "I mean, it's hot, but at least it's not raining like last week." "Uh-huh." "Been a taxi driver long?" "A while." "Okay." Message received. He didn't want to talk. That was fine. I looked out the window, seeing the occasional lights of other houses in the distance. The highway was relatively empty, just an occasional truck passing in the opposite direction. But then I noticed something. We weren't on Highway 17. The road was narrower, darker. I didn't recognize any landmarks. "Excuse me," I said, leaning forward. "Is this the right route to Phoenix?" "Shortcut." "Oh, okay." But it didn't feel okay. The road was getting lonelier and lonelier. I didn't see any houses anymore. I didn't see any other cars, just darkness, and the white center line of the road lit up by the headlights. I looked at the back of his neck. That's when I saw them. Scars. Fresh red lines crisscrossing the back of his neck, disappearing under the collar of his shirt. They were jagged, recent, some still scabbed over, as if someone had scratched him. Deep. My stomach clenched. "Are you sure this is the right way?" I tried to keep my voice casual, light. "It looks like we're heading east and Phoenix is south." "I told you, shortcut." His voice was flat now, emotionless. The kind of voice people use when they're no longer pretending. Anxiety crept up my spine. I checked the door. There was no inside handle. Well, there was a handle, but it was broken. Just a metal stem sticking out where the lever should be. "Hey, can you stop? I think I'm getting carsick. I need some fresh air." "No." "Excuse me." I said no. His voice was still flat, but now there was something else in it. Something that made every survival instinct in my body wake up screaming. "Look, I don't know what's going on, but I need you to stop the car. Now." He laughed. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was a bubbling, wet sound that came from somewhere deep in his chest. "Or what? Are you going to jump?" I tried the other door. It was broken too. "I locked them all," he said, as if he were commenting on the weather. "From the inside. Only I can open them." Panic hit me like a punch in the stomach. "What do you want? Money? I can give you money right now, just let me out." "I don't want your money, Adeline." The way he said my name made my skin crawl, as if he were savoring it, as if he had been waiting to use it. "Then what do you want?" He didn't answer for a moment. He just kept driving, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes on the road that was getting narrower and narrower, darker and darker. "You know what's wrong with people like you?" he finally asked. "People who think the world is safe. That help is just a phone call away. That someone will come and rescue you if you get into trouble. I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you do." Now there was emotion in his voice. Anger. "You walk through the world without consequences, taking what you want, hurting whoever you need to hurt, and no one does anything. No one stops you." "I haven't hurt anyone. I don't know who." "Liar!" The scream was so sudden, so violent, that I cringed against the door. "You're all liars. You all say you didn't do anything, that you don't deserve what's happening to you." The car accelerated, 60, 70, 80 kilometers per hour on a road that wasn't made for those speeds. The headlights could barely illuminate the curves in time. "Please," I whispered. "Please, just let me out. I won't tell anyone anything, I swear." "Where are we going?" he asked, ignoring my plea. "Do you know where we're going, Adeline?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was too tight. "Where you deserve to go," he said, and there was something in his voice that sounded almost like satisfaction. "Exactly where you deserve to go." I needed to get out. I needed to get out now. I looked around frantically. The windows. Could I break a window? I searched my bag, keys, wallet, tampons, a pen. Nothing useful. The pen. I could stab him with the pen. In the neck, in the eye. Force him to stop. But if I did that while he was driving at this speed, we would both kill ourselves. And if I missed, if it only made him angrier. I needed to wait for the right moment. "What happened to your neck?" I asked, trying to buy time, trying to keep him talking. "Those scars look painful." Another silence. Then, the last one fought back. She scratched like a wild cat. It didn't do her any good. "Oh God. Oh God, oh God, oh God." "How many?" I said, and my voice broke. "How many have there been?" "Does it matter?" "Where are they? What did you do to them?" "The desert is big," he said. "And she's hungry. She's always hungry." The car began to slow down. 50, 40, 30. We were pulling off the highway onto a dirt road that was barely visible. A road that led nowhere. A road where no one would find us. This was my chance. My only chance. I grabbed the pen in my fist, the tip pointing out. I waited until the car slowed to 20 miles per hour on the bumpy road. Then I lunged forward and stabbed him in the side of the neck with all my strength. He screamed, a horrible animal sound, and the car zigzagged violently. I tried to stab him again, but he raised his arm, blocking me. His elbow hit me in the face, and I saw stars. Metallic taste of blood in my mouth, but the blow gave me what I needed. The car had slowed to a near stop as he tried to fend off my attack. I saw a button on his door panel, a master lock button. I lunged toward him, stretching my arm between the front seats, my fingers searching desperately. He grabbed my hair and pulled hard. The pain was blinding, but my fingers found the button, and I pressed it. Click. The doors unlocked. I opened the rear door and practically fell out of the moving car. I hit the dirt ground with my shoulder, the impact knocking the wind out of me. I rolled, every rock and branch digging into my skin. The world was a blur of pain and panic. When I finally stopped, I was face down in the dirt, coughing, bleeding, every part of my body screaming in agony. But I was out. I was free. I lifted my head. The taxi had stopped about 20 yards ahead. For a moment, it just sat there, the engine idle, the taillights glowing red in the darkness. Then the reverse lights came on. No. I got up, staggering. My ankle protested with sharp pain. Twisted or broken, I couldn't tell. But adrenaline was fueling me. I limped toward the side of the road where the darkness of the desert awaited. Behind me, I heard the engine rev. I turned. The taxi was coming back toward me, accelerating. The reverse lights illuminated the night, finding me, fixing me like an insect. I jumped aside just as it roared past. So close, I felt the rush of air. I landed badly on my injured ankle and cried out. The car skidded to a halt in a cloud of dust, the sound of the driver's door opening. "Bitch," his voice echoed in the night. "You're gonna pay for that." I ran. Not ran. I couldn't run with my ankle, but a limping, pathetic jog to anywhere that wasn't where he was. The desert night was treacherous. Cacti appeared out of the darkness, their spines tearing at my clothes, my skin. Rocks twisted under my feet. I couldn't see more than a meter ahead. Behind me, his flashlight swept the darkness. "You can't hide. I see you." He didn't see me. He couldn't. He was lying, trying to make me panic, make me move so I would reveal my position. I crouched behind a large creosote bush, holding my breath, pressing my hand against my mouth to silence my desperate gasps. The beam of the flashlight passed a few meters away. I could hear him walking, his boots crunching on the loose dirt. "You know you're going to die here, right?" His voice was almost conversational now. "The desert will kill you if I don't. Dehydration, snake bites, scorpions. There are many ways to die in the desert." He paused. I heard the sound of a lighter, then saw the glow of a cigarette being lit. "The others," he continued, "thought they could hide too. They went into the darkness thinking they'd be safe. Do you know how long it took them to die? The last one took 3 days. I found her curled up under a mesquite tree, too weak to move. She was still conscious when I started. That was nice." My stomach churned. I bit my hand to keep from vomiting, to keep from making any sound. "But you," he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "You're a fighter. I like that. It makes it more interesting, more satisfying when you finally break." The flashlight continued to sweep. It was getting closer to my hiding place. 5 meters, 4, 3. I saw something on the ground next to my hand. A rock, fist-sized with sharp edges. I grabbed it. 2 meters. I could hear his breathing now, heavy, excited. 1 meter. I jumped out from behind the bush and threw the rock at him with all my strength. I hit him. I heard the impact, a sickening crunch, and he screamed. The flashlight fell to the ground, illuminating his face. Blood ran from his broken nose, black in the flashlight's light. I didn't wait. I limped toward where I thought the road was, toward where I had seen the taxi lights. "I'm gonna kill you," he yelled behind me. "I'm gonna tear you apart. I found the road, and I saw something that made my heart leap. Lights, car lights, approaching from the main road. A real vehicle, not his taxi from hell. Help, salvation. I ran into the middle of the road, waving my arms frantically. "Help! Please help!" The vehicle, a pickup truck, slowed down. It stopped. The door opened, and a man got out. He was older, maybe 60, wearing farmer's overalls and a worried expression. "Miss, are you okay? What?" "There's a man. He's trying to kill me. Call the police, please." The farmer looked toward where I had come from. His expression changed to alarm. Get in now." I jumped into his pickup, just as I saw the figure of my attacker emerge from the darkness running toward us. The farmer, I later learned his name was Mordecai, stepped on the gas. The pickup lurched forward, the tires spinning on the dirt before finding traction. I looked out the back window. My attacker had stopped in the middle of the road, watching us drive away. Even from a distance, even in the darkness, I could see his expression. It wasn't one of frustration or anger. It was one of satisfaction, as if he had already won something. Mordecai called the police. They arrived in 15 minutes, fast for how remote the area was. By then, I was a trembling mess, crying, unable to form coherent sentences. A paramedic checked me out. Ankles sprained, not broken. Cuts and bruises everywhere. Possible mild concussion. Nothing life-threatening, they told me, as if that was any consolation. The police returned to the dirt road. They found the abandoned taxi, driver's door still open, engine still running. They found blood, mine and his, inside and on the ground outside. They didn't find him. They searched the desert with dogs. They searched for 3 days. They found footprints that ended abruptly, as if he had simply vanished into thin air. They found the cigarette he had been smoking, still warm. They didn't find him. The taxi was registered to a Crispin Aldridge, reported stolen from a parking lot in Tucson 2 weeks ago. The real owner was a legitimate taxi driver who had no idea his car had been stolen until the police called him. They searched the trunk of the taxi. That's when they found the things: rope, duct tape, a large hunting knife, plastic tarps, industrial trash bags, bleach. Everything clean, organized, prepared. And photographs. They didn't show me the photographs. The detective, a kind woman named Keziah, told me it was better if I didn't see them. But I saw her expression when she came out from reviewing the evidence. I saw her hands tremble slightly when she handed me water. How many? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She hesitated. We don't know for sure. The photos. Some are old, years old. We're working to identify them. But how many? At least 12 that we can confirm. 12 women. 12 women who took the wrong taxi, or accepted the wrong ride, or trusted the wrong person. 12 women who thought they would make it home safely. Not all of them did. My car was towed, repaired. It was just a timing belt, and returned to me a week later. I didn't want to touch it for a month. When I finally drove it, every shadow on the road made me jump. Every car that followed me for more than 2 blocks made me panic. Thessaly convinced me to go to therapy. It helped. A little. But I still checked the back seat of any vehicle before getting in. I still check that the doors unlock before I close them. I still carry my phone fully charged every time I go out, and I never, ever accept rides from strangers. The police are still looking for him. He has an arrest warrant in 6 states. There's a sketch based on my description circulating in the news. But it's been 3 years, and there are no leads. Sometimes I wonder if they'll ever catch him. Sometimes I wonder if he's still out there, driving that taxi or one like it, looking for his next victim, looking for another woman who needs help, who is vulnerable, who makes the mistake of trusting. Sometimes when I'm driving late at night and I see a white car behind me, my heart races. My hands tighten on the steering wheel, and for a second, just a second, I'm back in that taxi, seeing those scars on his neck, hearing that bubbly laugh, and I know I'll never be completely free. Because somewhere, on some dark highway, he's waiting for the next woman who needs a ride home, the next person who makes the wrong decision at the wrong time. I hope it's not you.